you have Aries rising, this transit begins in your 8th house. You'll review in your 9th house, and it culminates in your 10th house, where you're likely to manifest something new. On October 20th and 21st, Mars and Mercury conjoined for the first time in Scorpio. And that was also the beginning of Mercury's shadow period for this retrograde that we're experiencing now. So for you, there was some type of conversation or communication having to do with investments, some type of pool of money, or your partner's resources, but there was some type of change. And with Mercury and Mars conjoined in the same space in your 8th house in Scorpio, there was likely some type of desire to get more information because of the conflict that had arose. So if this wasn't financial for you, then it's likely that this has to do with intimacy or vulnerability in some way, or some type of anxieties. So there could be something that was happening that was causing anxiety, and there may have been some fear about how this would either affect your plans going forward pertaining to school or pertaining to your career or travel plans that you might have had. But if you think back to the end of October, like that week of October the 20th, you'll likely remember like something that came up at that time, some type of heated conversation or communication that sparked an emotional response from you. And that will directly relate to what this entire Mercury retrograde will be about all the way up through January. On November 9th, Mercury will station retrograde in Sagittarius in your 9th house. So the 9th house is all about your travel plans, your higher education, any kind of higher learning that you're doing right now or that you're involved with in some way. This can also have to do with your worldview, your politics, or your religion, if that informs your worldview. Any kind of spiritual beliefs that you answer to and that color the way that you see everything. So as Mercury stations direct, there's something having to do with this area of your life where you're needing to pause. Perhaps there was a plan that you thought was going forward, plans for travel, plans for school, that you're now seeing need some kind of adjustment. And if you think back to that last week of October, there could be something that will help with that replanning, that reassessing, or that will direct you in some way to what you need to review before you move forward. So this is just a time to pause and just kind of take it all in, pay attention to any new information that's coming up, because any new information that comes up at this time is likely to have something to do with your plans moving forward. On November 12th, as Mercury goes retrograde, it's going to run right into Mars. So this indicates being of two minds in some way. Perhaps you want to move forward now, like you have a plan, you feel like you're right, you feel like you want to get started, and there's some kind of information that's kind of making you pause, and there's some kind of conflict going on within you. Or this could be about you are ready to move forward, but there's someone in that area of your life, either someone who mentors you in some way, or somebody who is a teacher, or you're getting some kind of information that pertains to your travel plans that are changing your mind in some way. So like, for instance, if there was a trip you really wanted to take, you were ready to go, you really want to do it, but you're finding out that at this time, it's not a good idea. Like, for instance, if you were going to go to Jamaica and they just had a hurricane, now might not be a good time to go there. Or maybe you're involved with a group that does some type of rebuilding and it's the perfect place for you to go. Or maybe you have a friend who lives in Jamaica and you were going to go in one direction, you were going to take a trip somewhere completely different, but now you're thinking maybe you'd like to go and help out. Or you could have someone who is traveling to you from somewhere else and they have some kind of disruption in their plans. So whatever comes up for you during the month of November, that's kind of like a disruption of some kind, or is urging you to look in a new direction, that there's some kind of information that you need to integrate into your plan or that you need to consider before moving forward, just be sure to pause and allow that to sink in. Make sure that you consider it before you move forward. On November 29th, Mercury will have retrograded all the way back into your 8th house, where it started on October 20th. And there it will station retrograde, which indicates like a pause again. So you might have been kind of moving backward or feeling like you're moving backward and gathering that information, setting things up, changing your plans. And now there's like a pause because we don't just immediately go from moving backward to moving forward. So there's just like a pause as you kind of like regroup before you start taking those first steps with whatever your new plan is. So in your 8th house, that can have to do with investments or other people's money. So if this was a trip that you were taking with a partner or with another person, or that involves some type of like group fund, This could be about that. This could also be about loans that you might have been taking out for school or some type of return on an investment. And if this isn't pertaining specifically to money for plans moving forward, this could have to do with any kind of fear or anxiety that may have come up at the end of October or something that happened that caused some type of fear and anxiety. And if that is still lingering, that's something that you want to resolve or address before you move forward in the coming months. By December 16th, Mercury has moved out of Scorpio and back into your ninth house in Sagittarius. So whatever fears have been addressed, that's in the past. And you're moving forward with that new plan having to do with either your higher education, educating others, or taking some type of trip, but just expanding your horizons in some way, or interacting with someone from a different culture or interacting with an entire new culture. We can actually do that, in our own backyard. Somebody can, move in next door who's from a completely different background than we are, and just having consistent interaction with that person broadens our horizons in some way. So this doesn't always have to mean that you go somewhere to interact with another culture. It just means that that interaction is happening and it's expanding your worldview or informing your worldview differently. So it's kind of like changing your mind about things. Again, if this whole thing was about some type of travel that you were going to take, this is likely a time when you're either purchasing tickets or making reservations or actually taking a trip. But Mercury has moved completely out of its retrograde period. And so now could be a good time to make those plans or to go ahead and reserve for this time. By January 18th, Mercury has caught up with Mars in Capricorn in your 10th house. This indicates a time when you're actually manifesting something. So all of what has gone on in the past, as far as changing plans, reviewing your plans, reassessing them, addressing any kind of fears having to do with what's happening in your life right now, pertaining to travel, pertaining to your worldview, your political perspective, and any fears or anxiety or trepidation that you have around those things. Now is the time when that's all kind of in the past and you're moving forward with whatever the new plan is. Now you're kind of feeling like you've been moving forward for a while and things are looking up. Like you're seeing results from all of the plans that you've made, from starting to take those first steps in this, whatever this project is. Your 10th house is about your reputation, your career, and who you are in public. So some of these changes, the outcome of those changes might have been that you really have changed like the way that you show up in the world, or you may have changed your career goals or your career plans. You might have changed some of the classes that you're taking because you've decided on a new career. Or as a result of a trip that you've taken, you have found that there's a new career that you really want to get involved in. Or having interacted with someone who expanded your horizons in some way, that has opened up a new path for you where career is concerned. But whatever it is, it's changing how you show up in the world, it's changing your public persona, and it's changing what you want to do right now as far as career. But something about who you are in the public eye has changed, and you're manifesting something new in its place.